Any cadence or theories on that one way or the other? It's like they think they're holding a whole conference for iLife. Just
I doubt it. That's not usually the way that Apple has done things.
Okay.
It's that usually iLife is timed in accordance with the next macOS 10 release, and usually they will talk about both together as if they're one package deal. So I would guess that's not the way they're going to be doing things.
Probably not, like you say, it's not their son. Any thoughts on that one way or the other, James? Or?
No, I don't know much about that kind of.
Okay.
I don't really follow much Apple news. You know.
It's important to know the ways of one's enemy. It's very important.
Still, James Soul is probably safe for the Norse.
Oh, yes. I have done too many Faustian deals. I have been tainted. No, iLife's in need of updating. It's the number one thing I hear out of any Apple fans is like, when's GarageBand getting updated? When's GarageBand getting updated? When's GarageBand getting updated? It's like it's overdue. Personally, as somebody who messes with web design, I would love very much just so that people on Macs are not putting out POS websites for that web tool in iLife to get updated to use more modern HTML. I really would like to see that. That's rather than the code it generally generates. Why it looks nice, if you actually go look at the code it generates, oh dear God. It's like it's just no. It's not modern code, it's archaic, it's not the best optimized for search. It's not good website code. It isn't. It's horrible. Which would be good for them. And honestly, because we're pretty much in agreement, this is some form of OS 10 and other updates. Like nobody should even. I don't like Macs, but if you are looking at buying one and you're serious, okay, do not. It's like walk away from the Apple Store. Do not buy it until after Wednesday's announcement and find out when the next one, and then wait. Wait for all of this stuff to sign out. Don't buy stuff. They've refreshed the systems. Now they're refreshing the software. Don't buy them yet. It's like, wait. Because the price isn't going to change. You can either buy that new spanking Mac, blah, or you can wait till all these updates come out. Hopefully they fix all the problems from upgrading from Leopard to Snow Leopard, and it's just okay. You get to skip that, and then you get to start with a system assigned without giving Apple yet more money that they do not deserve. So, let's see. At this point, it's old news, but I don't know if we want to talk about it. Do we want to talk about Windows Phone 7 since we didn't last week? And do we want to talk about this anti-Open Office ad?
The Open Office one, I'd say yes. I don't know. I never cared too much about Windows Phone 7.
I've read a lot about both. I didn't read about what we were talking about before the new GarageBand and stuff, but I can talk about either of these things.
Which one do we want to start with? I don't really care.
Well, anti-office ad is the first in the doc, so.
Okay, hang on. Let me load it up. Oops.
What was that?
That was my computer. I figure if we're going to talk about it, let's go ahead and play it. So I turned the sound back on my computer that was possessed earlier. Oops. Wrong link. How if I click the right link?
We originally installed Linux-based PCs running OpenOffice to save money in the short term, but we quickly found that the exorbitant cost and limited availability of support left us worse off.
I need something I can rely on.
If an open source freeware solution breaks, who's going to fix it?
A hugely disproportionate 30% of our IT resources was required for a period of months to service open source. An estimated 25% of additional staff time was routinely required to install and maintain open source-based systems.
When I was using OpenOffice.org, I was especially having trouble with macros not being supported enough. I was asking for help from the IT department. They evaluated my requests and suggested that I use Microsoft Excel.
We were accustomed to fielding calls from users in a bind due to difficulties with OpenOffice.org on a daily basis.
With OpenOffice.org, there was total uncertainty about the formatting of documents and also about their inconsistency when shared outside our production group.
Employees using OpenOffice.org weren't always capable of correctly making sense of documents arriving from outside the company and doing so with adequate security guarantees.
OpenOffice.org 3.1 failed to deliver on its promise of better Microsoft Office interoperability, severely mangling our Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel test data files.
I've had students who turn in files that they have converted from OpenOffice with formatting problems. That affects their grades.
When I open a large spreadsheet, it can take 10 times longer in OpenOffice.org than Office Excel 2007.
Our employees were frustrated because OpenOffice...
I think that teacher's related to the teacher that we hear about, that like when the kids going around the school giving out Linux disks, they try and get the kids suspended because they say it's a Microsoft world and you're hurting your fellow students.
It's so ridiculous. You can't force
That's...
someone to pay for something to get good grades. That's not how you should. That's just being a bad teacher. You're not teaching them.
Let's let them finish the last minute before we get into critiquing all of this.
And our overall IT environment prevented them from being more productive.
New employees lacked OpenOffice.org applications use fields that significantly increased the employee's adaptation period and adversely affected their operational efficiency.
Our users' familiarity with the Microsoft Office interface and the uniformity of different application tools have minimized calls to the help desk.
By using Microsoft Office 2007, we have reduced the internal support costs significantly because our staff is familiar with this system. This increases acceptance and job satisfaction.
The company paid too much for using open code OpenOffice.org software. The efficiency of operations was decreasing.
I don't necessarily agree that open source is a free product. There are always costs related to support, standardization, and compatibility.
When we returned to Microsoft Office after our experience with OpenOffice, you could practically hear a collective sigh of relief across the entire district.
Okay, so that's Microsoft Office's 2010 ad. Anybody get an idea where they're going there?
Just keep spouting as many weasel words as possible until you look good.
It's like, I love the undertone of this ad. It's like, we created a problem by overcharging for our software more than people could afford to pay for it, and then our solution to the fact that we were losing customers was to create all these extra proprietary formats that were even harder to interact with, and then we gave all of that to the schools so that was the only thing the students knew. And then we solved the problem by addressing licensing terms in 2007 so that we fixed the problem we caused. And it's like, that's great. I get what they're saying. And it's like, and honestly, I'm not saying all their points are invalid. The Excel one is valid.
Some of them downright are.
Well, it's like if you're messing with certain things, like database files and other things.
You finish your point and I'm going to
Excel can be better, but the macro one's laughable because the macro issues and things like that are built on top of the XLM file format and other things like that. If this court ruling that of the patents Microsoft and others have infringed upon gets upheld, those macros are all going to fall apart. unless Microsoft goes and rewrites a whole shitload of other shit and creates this whole proprietary format that only works, and then that's going to break all backwards compatibility for Office suites, because it'll be the same problem of trying to open a DocX format in older Microsoft Office suites. Doesn't really work right. Works fine in Open Office and WordPerfect and other things. Doesn't work in older Microsoft Office suites pre-DocX. And other things like that. Obviously, Leo has stuff to say on this. You have anything to say on this, James? Or
the whole video? Well, I do have to say that I like Microsoft Office better than OpenOffice.
It does some things that OpenOffice... first off, we should make it clear. Microsoft Office does some things that OpenOffice cannot do because it have to infringe on Microsoft-owned patents. And that's, that is the reality, that is the case. Depending what type of word processing you're doing, sometimes OpenOffice is a good solution, but don't try and make OpenOffice do a job it isn't designed to do. On the same token, sometimes WordPerfect's better to use. It just depends what you're doing. But, yeah. Anyways.
My turn?
No, well, I think James had something else to say. I interrupted him.
Okay, I'll step back.
Sorry.
So I think that I don't see a lot of these points. I mean, I haven't really had any big I have had some compatibility problems with OpenOffice, but that's kind of I see as a fault with proprietary formats, I mean, a lot of their points are just saying that it's not Microsoft Office being a point for it not being better than Microsoft Office. Which is funny. They're saying, this isn't our product. This is why it's not as good as our product.
Yeah.
The point about the people were less familiar with it because they were used to our product, so it's not as good as our product because they first used it. Anyway, but I do have to say that I'm not just talking about Microsoft Office doing things that OpenOffice can't do because of proprietary things. Maybe it's just me, but I actually think that Microsoft Office is one of the good and maybe one of the only good products that Microsoft makes. And I don't know about its price.
I would go with that.
I think that it's price and proprietariness aside, if that's what you use, I think it's actually a good product.
It depends on the type of word processing you're doing, but yeah, it's like the Office suite is a good thing. I don't like the direction the UI is going, but overall it is a good product. Before we get into Leah, one thing to get onto, like what that teacher was talking about. I know exactly what she's talking. The actress playing the teacher's voice, whatever. But what she's talking about, and I laugh at this every time I come across this problem, because occasionally I do some freelance work for colleges. And here's what happens. Here's what happens, and I laugh that this is a problem our educational system causes. Our educational system, particularly colleges and junior colleges, get the latest and greatest version of Microsoft Office for free. So that's what they use. And the default format that the latest and greatest version of Microsoft Office wants to save everything in is that specialized DocX format, which keeps getting more and more proprietary as it develops and more weird stuff in it. In and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. However, some schools get licenses where they're allowed to give out the latest and greatest version of Office to every one of their students. Okay, this isn't necessarily a problem. Junior colleges don't have this. And the formatting issues come across whether you're using OpenOffice or an older version of Microsoft Office or WordPerfect or pretty much anything but the latest and greatest version of Microsoft Office, because that DocX format is just so damn picky. It's just it's like basically if you're using a different version of Microsoft Office than the version of Microsoft Office that created that latest and greatest DocX format, it don't format right. And it drives nuts. And